Disassembly has occurred, and this neck is pretty nice looking. It's got a nice gloss to it. Um, Here, before the first fret, there was a lot of abrasion in the poly, and I just used some, what is it, Scratch GT? Yeah, GT88. Smooth that out a little bit there, and I just noticed now there's a little bit of an abrasion up here, 16. So what I think I'm going to do is, oh, and there's something there. I'm going to disassemble, the hardware here, and when I'm going to do the body buffing, I'm going to take this over to bench number 2 and do that as well. Something, I don't know if that's just some dirt on it or if there's a really bad just a little thing right here in the poly, this little black darkened area. Yeah, it's rough, it's not right. I'll just give it a going over. You know, I was playing on this, and the poly on this neck, it didn't give me that sticky feeling at all, even though it's so shiny. So off camera, I played a little while with it with just the bridge pickup on it, and I didn't have that feeling to it. I may or may not have to, satinize the back of this. I don't know yet. But anyway, I'm going to take off these tuners um, because they're just crap, and I'm going to just take it over to bench 2 and buff it. I've also disassembled all of the hardware off the body. They're not terrible, but yeah, I'll just be mindful of when that has to go back in. There's a lot of unleveled frets, and there's some flat areas, especially on the ends where I guess they were higher, and you usually have high ends. These look very well seated into the maple neck, and like I said, the ends have been done pretty well. I'm still going to round them off and make them even a little bit smoother than they are, but there's nothing hanging out, and that's good. When I took the neck off, I tried to see if there was any adjustment for this low E string that comes really close up here to the top of the frets, and there is no movement, so it doesn't matter. Up there, low E string, it's a don't care situation. Alright, let's see. Well, these, actually this is actually a little bit too big, isn't it? Let's see if this is a finer point one. There, that's a better bit. At least here I've got a butterfly to pull up on. These screws are usually quite a bit longer because they have the spacer, and that's the shorter one. There. Alright, completely disassembled. A little bit of dirt around that, but I'm going to do some buffing. Let's go take a look at the body on the other bench. Right, here we are. It's completely disassembled, except for the ferrules. I was going to put in, where's the plate? I was thinking of putting in this plate, right? But the ferrules didn't fall out, and they're nicely in there, and to get them out may cause the poly around that to chip, even though that plate would cover that up. Because they're in there very nicely and they're not going to fall out, I'm not going to use that plate on this guitar. I'm going to leave it like that. So I've drilled at the holes here for the screws not to bite so much. I've had to do a little bit more sanding in the pocket here because I noticed that it was too high on this side versus that side. and the poly was quite thick along this edge. So I sanded that down last night before I quit work. And I put some resin around some of the holes that had the poly chipping so that it wouldn't continue to flake. And there was a tiny little chip right here on the edge of that, which I put some resin on. And it just looks white, but you can't really see it in the light. Yeah, just there you can see the white. The poly's off. And so I put a little bit of resin on that to stop it from going any further. This is what she kind of looks like. Put this pick guard on there. It's going to look pretty cool, I think. I have to open this up a little bit. This is curved in a little bit too much, I can tell, the way it was beveled. And I fitted that last night, so there's a little bit of shaving there, maybe a little bit along there and here. I think the curve in here is going to fit pretty good, but all that will be a little bit later, because I'm going to have to mount the plate first before I put that on, so that I get the positioning of that very well. Almost none of the holes are lining up on this one, so I'm probably going to stick some picks in there, and I'm going to have to do some re-drilling. And this one is inbound of this hole over here, so I had to make sure there was resin around that, so that when I go back in with the drill, it was kind of like it wasn't chipped out, but it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It actually created a little fissure around there, and the poly could have chipped, so I covered it with resin and hardened it up. Also, I took out the jack and I put some resin around these holes. The jack had just a couple of wires to it, and the piece of shielded cable that was remaining from the pickup that I cut off, the neck pickup, I'm reusing that as a shielded to the jack. So that's going to go back in that way. So I got to get ready with my buffing pads and take a look. You know, there's not a lot of swirls in this poly. It's very shiny. There really isn't any swirls and stuff to, well, except around here it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It's going to be covered anyhow, but I think I'm not going to have to do, oh, there's some dirt left there. I'm not going to do a lot of heavy compounding. I think I'm just going to go with my cleaner wax and see if that takes a lot of this stuff off and kind of slicks up the body. Also the same with the neck. I'm working on the neck, and it's almost done. I have 3 sandpapers to go, and then the steel wool. And this method that I've shown before is absolutely foolproof all the time for crowning. After you've done the sanding beam, and then up to the steel wool, and it works out perfect every single time. Just ask Mr. J-Man. I taught it to him, and he does it, and it works perfect every time for him. So here we go. So you go find it, and then you take a lump, get a nice little fold in it there so your thumb will fit good. And then when you're down here, I don't think I need this tape to hold it there anymore. When you're down here, your thumb can fit over like 2 frets at a time, so it goes twice as fast. Okay, so that's just a couple of passes, and now you can see the difference between those two and the rest of them. So this is like gleaming And this is nice, but it's not right. It's got to gleam like that, right? See, the light is not traveling across the fret on the other ones like these two. It needs to do that. And then some of them you may need to work a little bit longer on to get that. And the more you do this, the better these frets are going to be for bending. They're going to glide just like ice. And in order to get this, excuse me, you have to keep changing your steel wool. Like where you've worn it down, okay, it's lost its edge. So you got to keep moving it to keep getting a nice clean and gleam like that. You can turn it all around to the inside again because the edges are still in there, right? I'm going this way. Okay. It'll take longer and not work as well if you don't keep getting your steel wool with good edges on it. It just cuts faster. There you see? Those are all gleaming in the light and the other ones do not. That's the difference. And also, make sure you have enough steel wool between the fret and your thumb because this friction will burn. You know, it's creating heat there. Now you see when they all gleam like that. Got her done. Now, when you tape your neck, make sure you put a strip all the way down one side like this, and it helps usually to take those tapes off. Let's see if it works this time. I learned this from somebody on YouTube a long time ago. And sometimes what you do is you end up cutting through the tape with your sandpapers. And then you're back to square one, getting this stuff off. So, not as elegant as it used to be. Maybe I need to put two across there, and that might solve the end problem. But where it doesn't cut through, you see it takes them off all at once. That's the idea. So now that you know what you're looking for, plan for it. And then we take this off and we clean it. Now don't leave this tape on any longer than the time it takes you to do the work. This whole fretboard was an hour and a half from the time I started taping it until about now. And this is cheap stuff from the dollar store. You don't want to spend a lot of money on the painter's tape because we're not painting. We're just doing this. This is just to protect your surface. And it's not going to be on there very long. All right? So, you can do everything fairly inexpensively. And if you leave a little fingernail on your right hand, you can get some of this stuff off. And for you that do finger picking, you'll have nails, no problem. Come on. Okay. This one got cut off on both sides. There we go. Protect the headstock. Ta-da. So now there's residue, and there's still a little bit of filings on my table, so I'm going to vacuum again. And then we look for where the residue is. Looks like I didn't leave a lot. Oh, yeah, on this side I've got some. See that? Yeah, it's all along there, dark gray. So that's tape residue. You want to get that off. So you look where it is the most, and then you go after it with your trusty naphtha, or otherwise known as lighter fluid. Do not put any other harsh chemical on your fretboard or your guitar in any other way, please, because you never know what it's going to do to your poly. So especially clean where the tape was. On the top as well. Now since this is polyed on the top, I'm also going to, oh, there's some hard stuff on the top there. See, it starts to pick up the gray. Also, it's going to clean off the frets for any little residue that's left on them. And what I'm going to do, once I'm finished doing this basic cleaning down to the basis, I'm going to put a little touch of spray wax on it because it's shiny poly, and it's going to make the wood feel even slippier on the neck. And I use a spray detailer for that. As I said, if I have a problem with the back of this neck, I will sand it. Okay. Do that, and then I'm going to check to see that we got it all. Feels good. Feels good. So the next step is detailer. Now just checking over, I thought there was some of the fret ends that could be a little smoother. So I'm just going to show you this. Triangle file, okay? You must make sure you have that bottom edge here ground off, especially on a glossy neck, okay? It doesn't make as much of a difference on, you know, a rosewood or some other engineered rosewood looking neck, but it does here. You must have that ground off so it's shiny like that, so it's smooth, and when you go around the corner of the fret, just, you know, right in the corner, and just roll the file around like that just to smooth that off, and you make sure the file goes right beside the fret, right in there, and over and over. You don't have to press hard, right? There's no pressing hard, it's just glide the file, let it do its work. If you push too hard, you're going to make a problem. as opposed to correcting a problem. One of these systems. This would probably never bother me playing, but while I'm here at this stage, I'm just going to do the extra step and make sure that in case I get sprout over time, it won't become a problem that I'll have to do this later. Whoop. Put your finger behind it sometimes like this, right? In case you don't slip off. I still don't like that one, so sometimes I have to change hands to get the right angle. Okay. And now that we've secured our files, coming up to the last steps. McGuire's detailer I'm using right now. I've used Simonized before as well. Put some on there and make sure you get it all in. Yeah, get it all in. Get her down the sides and on the back. Of the neck. And the headstock. Don't have to do the heel so much, it's going to be hidden. Don't get any in your nut slot. You want that to glue in. Yeah, that should help it. I got a little residue from tape along my fret there. Let's see if I can get that out with my nail. Yeah. Sometimes there's a tiny little bit of tape stays beside a fret. Just widen NAFTA and then do this again. You can find them all before you put it back together and string it up. Okay, time to clean up. Time to clean up. Now, this detailer doesn't really need any, buffing like the paste wax, but I like to do it anyway. Whoa. I could go tobogganing with that. Alrighty, that's the end of the neck for now. The next thing that will happen to it is we're going to install these locking tuners, which are branded Canes. I bought these off of the Canes website in AliExpress. Oh, I also have to lube them all. Before I do that, I got to put a lube in there like I normally do. So put my what's it? Synthetic lube will go in there. And these are Goto style branded or Goto copied type tuners. They're really nice. molded body, and they're at least 1 to 17 or higher. I can't remember what they were supposed to be. They've been around a while. And they're going to go. So yes, the next step will be to painstakingly take all these ends off and put lube in there and spin them round and round and round and round until they get really slick. When you turn the gears on this thing, there's absolutely no play in the gears when you turn them from side to side. They go. That's what works best for tuning. And here we are. New tuners and string trees, and ready to be mounted on the body.